Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast off-season preview series where Bryce Simon and I are diving into all 30 NBA teams and the decisions that they have to make this summer in order to improve their chances at achieving their goals, be it to compete for a title or to continue with a rebuild. Please go subscribe to the YouTube channel. Go subscribe to the podcast feed. Over 37,000 of you have subscribed to the YouTube channel by the time Bryce and I are recording this. We appreciate all of you immensely for coming to rock with us and hang out with us over on the YouTube channel. It is so appreciated and so kind of you for hitting that subscribe button. Today, we're going to talk about the Orlando Magic, a team that made the playoffs after an injury-riddled season. I would argue handled its business this year in a way that was professional, kind of, given that both Paulo and Franz Wagner missed significant portions of the season. Obviously, Mo Wagner missed almost the entirety of the season. They just dealt with injuries. Jalen Suggs misses the back part of the season due to a knee injury. It just feels like this team was snake bitten and they still figured out a way to at least be annoying to the Celtics in the first round.
Yeah.
And that says something to me. That says that this was at least I don't know if it was a step forward, but it wasn't a step backward, I think is at least the fairest way to put this year.
Yeah. I mean, they're a really interesting team. And for some of these previews, we've talked about identities and do teams have identities? If they do, what does that mean? And how far can that take a team? And with Orlando, it's an identity on one side of the ball. This team is absolutely going to defend the heck out of you. And we saw them do that against the Celtics. And so that's a great starting point for a young team that's on the rise. Again, handling their business through injuries, coming back from the injuries. Suggs never got back. And they have a couple young stars in Paolo and Franz that are really exciting. And so it's a really nice spot for Orlando to be in. I just do feel like now it's time to truly build this out. And they tried. We thought KCP was going to be a really good addition for them last offseason. And unfortunately, KCP shot 34% from three and averaged less than 9 points a game in that role. And so now they have to go and figure out who are the guys we can trust to make shots, who still works defensively as we build that out. But it's not a bad spot to be in at all in terms of the defense and these two young stars.
So before we get into the obvious need here, which is to find shooting and ball handling, right? And we're going to spend a majority of the time talking about ways that they can hopefully augment that this summer. It's worth kind of laying out their financial position because it's kind of strange. So they have team options on all of Gary Harris, Mo Wagner, Corey Joseph, Caleb Houston. Gary Harris's team option is right in the $7.5 million ballpark. Mo Wagner's is right around $11 million. If they exercise all of these team options, they're actually $3.4 million over the first apron already. And they're only $8.5 million away from the second apron. And this is before Paolo Banchero's contract goes into place. Paolo Banchero is getting a massive extension this summer that will include Supermax language if he was to make all NBA next year. And I think there's a chance he makes all NBA next year. Paulo looked like a real mismatch problem in the playoffs against Boston. And we've seen that multiple times now from him in the playoffs. So this is a team that gets wildly expensive very, very quickly. The good news is that their guys really good at basketball. Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero, to me, they have two guys that are long-term all-stars, real shot to be all NBA players, even in Franz's case, if the shot ever comes back. We'll see if the shot ever comes back. That's a real question with Franz. But if the shot was to return, very good chance that he makes all NBA. Paulo, I think, will at some point make an all NBA team. They have the actual high-end guys on this team, and Jalen Suggs is obviously an all defense guy. His contract extension kicks in this summer as well. Franz's contract extension kicks in this summer. There are a lot of good things here. There are a lot of really good players, but it just becomes extremely complicated because of some decisions that they've decided to make on, who to give money to and who to kind of keep and Now they have to decide, like, the rubber's going to hit the road here financially. And do we keep Mo Wagner at that number? Do we keep Gary Harris? Like, what do we do with all of these options at our disposal?
Yeah, that was one thing that immediately stood out when I pulled up the cap sheet in prep for this as well, was like, man, you know, when you look at the numbers for this season, it's like, oh, they're going to have they're a cap space team in 2025, right? And then you're like, oh, no. Jalen Suggs is going from 9 million to 35 million. Franz is going from 7 million to 38 million. And then you do have these other contracts, to your point, like Jonathan Isaac is at 15. And even though like those guarantees go down over the life of the contract, it's locked in for next year. KCP is at 21.6. Cole Anthony is at 13. You mentioned Mo Wagner's number a couple times. Like, I love Goga Bitadze, but you're paying Goga Bitadze $8 million to be your third big, maybe, right? Like, maybe not even that whenever fully healthy, if you're playing Wendell Carter Jr. and Mo and Jonathan Isaac. And so it's just like, I think there's an avenue to get there, but it does seem like some of these numbers aren't getting the bang for the buck that they could be, in terms of like, these guys aren't giving them that offensive production from the role players that you would want. And so it'd be interesting to see how they balance that out, if they can trade some of these guys off and recycle them into something else.
And this is where essentially kind of missing on a lot of these draft picks,
sure,
not hitting like a difference maker on some of these later draft picks recently, have hindered them. Jet Howard does not look like a real dude, and that's something that isn't really a stunner to me. I think I had him like 25th that year or so. Tristan Da Silva, I thought looked good in his minutes this year. He looks like he could be like a good rotation player. Agreed. Cole Anthony just kind of is who he is. He's a backup point guard, but he's making too much money for that role. And Anthony Black, like, I don't know what to do with AB yet. I mean, at some point you have to hope that he shoots it, but I don't know how much faith I have in him really being able to shoot it at some point. So what is he, more of like a really good third guard who can play both on and off the ball? Or is he going to be like a real difference maker? And then on top of it too, with AB, like, you have difficult decisions coming up next summer where he's extension eligible. So it gets tricky. And oh, by the way, like Anthony Black, his contract is not cheap. Like, he makes $7.9 million next year. His fourth year is $10 million, where like, if he doesn't show real improvement, and I think he will, he averaged 9 points a game, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. But if he doesn't like figure out the scoring piece of the equation here, like at 10 million, he's like kind of overpaid.
And AB is the epitome of the conversation we're going to have though, Sam. Because you want to guess who was the fourth leading scorer in the playoffs for the Orlando Magic in his 17.8 minutes per game in those 5 games?
I mean, honestly, I was going to guess Corey Joseph. So
it was another epitome of a product of Jalen Suggs being injured. I mean, it was AB. Paolo averaged 29, Franz averaged 26, Wendell Carter then jumps all the way down to 10.2, and Anthony Black off the bench in 18 minutes, averaging 8 points a game, shooting 41% from the field and 15% from 3, is your fourth leading scorer in the playoffs. Like that outlines exactly where the issues lie in terms of this team being a real like playoff contender, right? I'm not saying where they're at right now is an issue, but like you said, it was okay that they didn't take a step back. It's okay that they just stayed where they were, but you would like to see them start to push forward a little bit. And all of those numbers we gave out, KCP at 21 million, 5 points a game. Jonathan Isaac played 14 minutes. Cole Anthony played 10 minutes a game in the playoffs, Sam, at his number. So it just, they're not getting enough from those guys.
So they're going to have a busy offseason, Orlando. And this is where it gets complicated, because the way for them to have a busy offseason is by making trades. This front office under Jeff Weltman has not made trades. Like, they just don't make trades. So they're going to have to do something different this year. If they want to solve their problems, you can't just go in and say, we're going to take Walter Clayton at 15 and take Jace Richardson at 25. or 16, I'm sorry, in 25, right? You can't just say, oh yeah, that's how we're going to solve our issues here, is by continuing to bring in young players. I think that this team needs dudes who can play right now. And I think it's going to have to be via trade. And to me, when I look at their sheet, I think the very obvious trade candidates are Jonathan Isaac, Cole Anthony, and Goga Bitadze.
Yep.
And I love Goga. I think Goga is like one of the best. I think he's probably one of the 30 best centers in the league, honestly. I think at $8 million, he's actually probably a bargain financially. I would love to keep him if I'm Orlando, but the thing is that I don't think Jonathan Isaac's going to have a lot of value league wide. I don't think Cole Anthony's going to have a lot of value league wide. Are you going to attach picks to those guys in order to trade them and get value? Like, are you going to attach number 16 to Cole Anthony in order to try and go get somebody that makes sense for you? If that's the case, I'm for it. Like, I'd be interested to know like who you think the best player is that they could get potentially, but they got to do something in this like range. It has to be, it can't just be that they go into next season with Paulo and Franz and Jalen Suggs as like their only ball handlers, really. They got to go find shooting and ball handling. They have to go find playmakers. It can't be the way it was this season. This offense is miserable to watch right now.
Yeah, they have to go find that option. They really do. And I know, like, I'm sure some Magic fans would just say, like, it's going to be Jalen Suggs, right? Like, Suggs was averaging 16 points a game on pretty rough efficiency. So I think you would talk yourself into, okay, it was a rough shooting stretch. It was a 35 game sample, but he's going to shoot it better. And if he's knocking down shots and scoring, doesn't even have to be 20 a game, but 18 a game, that obviously makes things a whole lot better. But I still don't think that's enough. Like, you got to go get some guys that can get you 12 to 15 points a night, and they just don't have enough of those guys on the roster. And to your point, as interesting as a Walter Clayton Jr. is, or like you ask for other names in that range, like Liam McNeely, like Essengay is not the answer for me. We've talked about some of the bigs, Cedric Coward. I just don't know if those are guys that I'm like, okay, yes, this is going to solve the issue right away, right now, as much as I like some of those names I just brought up.
Yeah. So I think that if I'm them, I'm looking to utilize 16 and 25 in the trade market in some respect. Maybe not both of them, but I'm trying to utilize at least one of them to go get like a useful player who is offensively inclined. And oh, by the way, like Jamal Mosley has to choose to play those guys too, right? Like, part of this is like there's this synergy that we often talk about between like coaching staff and front office. If they go get somebody who can score the basketball but might be like a bit defensively deficient, Jamal Mosley has to commit to playing that guy too. And like Jamal Mosley is an all defense guy. Like, that's the thing. Like, he loves having guys out there who can defend, or at least like are capable defensively. So
And Sam, if he's not, then they shouldn't make the move. Like that is one thing that I've like become more and more of a believer in. Don't do the AJ Johnson to the Milwaukee Bucks. Don't do whatever happened in Denver where Calvin Booth was trying to draft players and force Michael Malone into decisions and Malone was pushing back. Like, it's not good for your organization. Like, Weltman has to sit down with Mosley and like, are you going to be willing to play? Like, I'll just throw out the most drastic name. Like, would you be willing to play Cam Thomas if I traded for him? Okay, no? All right, I'll go to the next guy. Like, where is the breaking point of the offensive player with some defensive liabilities? Because you don't want to waste the number 16 pick plus Goga Bitadze if, Mosley's going to sit him every single time he messes up an off-ball, defensive rotation or something. And again, I realize Cam Thomas was like the ultimate, like, I understand it. I did it for effect. So don't yell at me.
So here's my question for you. Let's say that they bring back Mo Wagner on, like, given these coming off an injury, like $5 or $6 million a year, right? Like something like that, let's call it. Not like a crazy number, but like a number, right? Like a not insubstantial number. So that reduces their, cap hold by, let's call it, or their cap situation by 6. That gets them under the first apron. Let's remove Gary Harris as well. That gets them under the first apron by like 10 or so million. Right. Honestly, I'm probably keeping Corey Joseph at like a minimum, given how useful he was for them at the end of the year.
I can't do this.
I know, but it's a minimum is the thing. Like, and
for what it's worth, I love Corey Joseph. He has one of my favorite pregame shooting routines. Like I do it with players I work with. So like, I'm not trying to hate on Corey Joseph. I just laugh because when the Pistons are at their worst, Pistons fans hated Corey Joseph being on the team. And then he just started 5 playoff games for the Magic. It makes me laugh.
Yeah. Is there any way that we can get like Anthony Simons to this team?
I mean, it's the name, right?
Yeah. Like that's what makes sense here to me. But if I'm the Blazers, am I interested in taking on 2 years of Cole Anthony and like the Jonathan Isaac contract plus picks? Like I'm getting real pick value here too, probably. Jonathan Isaac only has, I believe the number is like 23 million guaranteed over the next 2 years, basically.
Yeah.
If they wanted to, like, even if they didn't want to keep Jonathan Isaac, like you could stretch this deal like over 9 years at like 2.3 million or something. Like it'd be like a crazy low number because he has 4 years remaining and he has 23 guaranteed. What it would be 23 divided by 9. So it'd be under 3.
2 point something.
Yeah. Like I'm saying, if you didn't want to keep Isaac, but like that's still money on your books for the next 9 years. So you're not excited about that either.
I mean, or you could just keep him on, like, depending on what they do with their big man rotation, like you just keep him on your roster, 15 million this year. And then if you want to, you could save 6.5 the next, or you can just keep them on the books for 14.5 the next, in 26, 27, then be done with it.
It actually becomes like a fairly valuable contract from like a trade perspective too. At that point. Yeah. So maybe you would just keep Isaac, and like Isaac is still like a great defender,
Yeah.
The offense has stopped offensing it really in any way, shape, or form. At this point, this year was really, really rough for him offensively. Yeah. So like, is there any way that Portland would do Isaac and Cole Anthony in 16 for Simons? Like, I think that's probably not enough for Simons.
Yeah. My instinct, my gut says no. I would have to look at Portland a little bit more because now they have 2 picks in that same range. Like, I wonder where they're getting with like roster rotation situation with all of that as well.
Yeah, like could they then try to move like 11, 16 and go up and like Tamani Kamara to number 3 or something like that?
No, I will not do that.
You would not do that if you were them.
I mean, I love Tamani Kamara, so no.
Yeah. Like,
but no, I know, I understand what you're saying.
I'm just trying to figure out like ways to consolidate talent as much as anything.
No, I got you. I understand. I was being dramatic because it was Tamani. But yeah, like you take 11, 16, and then you go get in a new tier, right? Like that's the thing. Like if 11 and 16 are in the same tier, can you now package them? Because somebody else does have the roster spots in the whatever that they want both. And then you move up. Like that would be, can I throw out another name to you?
Yeah, I would love it.
What about Michael Porter Jr.? Does he make any sense just like from a shot making perspective? I know this, I understand the positionality of it, but just be freaking huge with those 3 guys.
I think my answer is no, because the money, I mean, it'd have to be what you send KCP and like Cole Anthony or
that'd be
Jonathan Isaac back. So honestly, like Jonathan Isaac is their backup center. If 15 million is like not disastrous,
and Cole Anthony becomes like a scorer off the bench for Denver.
Well, you could do KCP and you could do Jonathan Isaac for Michael Porter Jr. is the idea.
Yeah. I mean, it probably doesn't work because like, I don't know, you're putting a lot of pressure. Well, no, Suggs is going to take those first matchups. That was another, as I look through teams and players who potentially could be on the move, that was another name that I thought of.
Yeah. I don't think that I wouldn't want to take that much money on in a single asset.
Sure.
If I'm Orlando, given my financial situation at this point, that gets concerning to me.
The other one we talked about whenever we did theirs was Darius.
I mean, look, like if I'm Cleveland, I'm probably just not moving Darius Garland to Orlando. Like that would be my worry would be I'm like supercharging Orlando at that point and making it harder to beat them in the playoffs.
For us. Sure.
Yeah. And like, what do you even like send? Like it's KCP and Isaac is what makes the money work. I mean, is it 16, 25 and another first? Is like an unprotected first moving forward?
Yeah, but like then if I'm Cleveland, like that, I don't like that. Like if I'm moving Darius, because I'm balancing my roster to be better now, not to do something in the future with. So
yeah, so like you could maybe say Suggs. Like, is it Darius for Suggs in 16? Like that still doesn't really work for me, honestly.
Yeah, that'd be a heck of a decision by Orlando. I mean, it'd be interesting.
Yeah. So I guess where I'm struggling here with Orlando is like I think the names that they can chase here are somewhat limited. I mean, like one name that is interesting that I guess we didn't really talk about when we did the Clippers offseason preview. Are they a Norm Powell team?
Okay, I like that. That's very interesting if the Clippers wanted to make a move. I like that a lot.
Like, is it Norm Powell for Jonathan Isaac in 16 or something?
So LA gets off the Powell. Isaac comes in and plays backup center, which they absolutely need. Gets the Clippers a draft pick. I don't love that value for Norm Powell personally. But Norm's coming off a heck of a season. But that's interesting. The idea, the framework here is interesting to me.
Could I throw you one slightly used Jet Howard?
So then you're going to attach another draft pick along with that, or no?
16 and Jet Howard is the idea here.
I'm good. Give me Tristan.
Yeah,
give me Tristan.
Yeah, I don't think I would do that. I think Tristan in 16 is too much for Norman Powell. Tristan in 25?
Now I'm interested. I would rather have Tristan. Like, am I crazy for being more excited about Tristan than 16? Like,
I would rather have 16 than Tristan, personally.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I would rather have 16 than Tristan. And I like Tristan, but the money.
That's true. And you're already
extra contract control.
You're already a year into the contract. It's just like I don't know exactly what. I've seen Tristan on an NBA floor. I don't even know who's going to be there at 16 with that pick. So Isaac, Tristan, and 25 for. If I was going to move Norm Powell, that would be kind of interesting. I don't love the idea of the Clippers moving Norm Powell anyway, but that's interesting.
I don't either. But like Powell's not disastrous on defense. Like,
yeah,
he's not great on that end. But
I like this for Orlando. This is a good name, Sam.
Yeah, and for the Clippers, I mean, the money doesn't quite work. Unfortunately, we're off by like $1 million if it's Tristan, Isaac, in 25.
Of course,
we were so close. I mean, look, like we could throw in somebody and probably make it work, but like. That like Norman Powell's an interesting name. Anthony Simons is an interesting name. I mean, honestly, like I'm trying to find other solutions and it's just really difficult. Like it's genuinely really hard. I mean, like another name here is like, if they could find a way to get under the tax all the way by like, keeping Mo Wagner at a cheaper number, dumping the Gary Harris money and like dumping Cole Anthony into somebody's money. Could you go like get it? Because that would reduce your cap impact by what, 24 million or so. So that would take you like way under the first apron and way under the tax. That would give you enough to use the full taxpayer, non-taxpayer mid-level on somebody like Ty Jerome.
Sure. Yeah, that he's a really interesting name for them. Obviously, if they can get there, I mean, he's a fun name.
So if I told you basically then, so instead of doing like, Jonathan Isaac and 25 for Norman Powell, Jonathan Isaac Jet Howard,
whatever.
16 for Norman Powell, whatever it is. If I told you instead they could move Cole Anthony and number 25 into somebody's trade exception or cap space or whatever.
Yep.
There are a number of trade exceptions that fit Cole Anthony's money.
Yep.
Sacramento has a $16 million trade exception. If I'm them, I'm definitely taking Cole Anthony and 25 to fit into that trade exception, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they could sign, and then you knew that you were getting Ty Jerome when you did that. Like 100%. You were locked in. You had Ty Jerome like completely set, but like under the table, right? Is basically Cole Anthony and number 25 for Ty Jerome worth it to you?
I would have said yes a month ago. After what happened in the playoffs, I'm a little bit nervous. Because
is that a better option than Norm Powell?
I think Norm's just so much better offensively that I think Norm is a better option, to be honest with you. Speaking of the Kings, what about any of those guys? Like, is there any
Malik
chance?
Monk?
Is there any chance that out of the Malik Monk business for whatever reason, like they're just going to rock with Levine and Devin and Keon and keep DeRozan, and for whatever reason Malik becomes like, I think Malik would be incredible for them.
Jonathan Isaac actually kind of makes some sense in Sacramento too.
Sure.
That money works. Like, would you do 25 and Jonathan Isaac for Malik Monk?
If I'm Orlando?
Yeah.
100%.
Would you do Jonathan Isaac, Jet Howard in 25 for Malik Monk?
Yes.
I would too. That actually works for me.
Yeah.
That works well for me, actually.
It's a really interesting name.
Yeah. Yeah. Here, I'll put it up on the screen while we're talking, but this is probably my favorite one that we've done so far. I would say. Yeah. This is one that I can see kind of working across the board for everybody. So Jonathan Isaac, Jet Howard, and number 25 for Malik Monk. That fits. Malik, again, like, not a great defender, but I think somebody that, Jamal Mosley would be willing to play, which is critical here again.
And I think he fits perfectly in the hierarchy of ball handlers for them in terms of, he doesn't have to have it, but he can do it whenever Paolo, Franz are off the floor or need a break, or you know what I mean? Like he's going to take some of that usage off of them. I don't think he's on a bad contract by any means, but if you're Sacramento, maybe you're looking to, get into the free agency market sooner. So you don't want the years. You're going to have less years with Jonathan Isaac's deal.
They just have to do stuff at the end of the day. Like, I'm sure that they would prefer to trade DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine on some level, but like LaVine, the money doesn't work here. DeRozan, like, I'm just not doing that if I'm Orlando. Like, that doesn't work for me at all from a spacing perspective.
Not at all.
But Malik Monk, like, I know that Malik's shooting has been roller coastery, let's call it, but he still gets guarded out there. Over his last 5 years, he's hit 36% from three. He's a real shot creator, averaged 17 points and 6 assists last year, averaged 15 and 5 the year before, on his way to second and sixth man of the year voting. He's happy to be a sixth man, like we've seen it throughout the course of his career. So if you start Jalen Suggs and KCP, and then you bring Malik Monk off the bench and he closes games for you, that's a role that works. This is my favorite deal that we've seen so far.
Yeah, and that's what I think people will immediately look at his 3-point shooting this season at 33%. And I would just like, he was 35, 36 on volume the 2 seasons before. He was 39 and 40% the 2 years before that. Like, he may not be a 40% 3-point shooter, but like you said, I think his career number is pretty close, 35, 36 on volume. And most importantly, he has gravity. And again, I think he can be underrated at times as a like secondary creator, ball handler, run a pick and roll, ball screen type of stuff. And like you said, doesn't even disrupt the starting lineup. Like, continue to start KCP at his number, bring Monk off the bench. Like, I just think he might win 6th man of the year playing there in Orlando in that role. I think he would be awesome.
35% off the catch in this season, 37% off the catch from three the year before that, 36% off the catch from three the year before that. The real problem is like the pull-up 3-point numbers just aren't great for Malik Monk. But when you already have Paulo and Franz playing on the ball a ton, and you're just asking Malik Monk, hey, space, attack closeouts, get downhill, make passing reads off of that, that actually really works for me at a super high level.
So let me give you the corner 3-point percentages. This year, 44. Year before, 43. Year before, 43. Year before, 40. Year before, 58 in 42 games. Much smaller sample. Like, he can knock down shots. It may be a little bit up and down, but like, this is a guy that can score the basketball, and that's the thing. Like, we can say shooting, and I think that is fair. At the end of the day, he scored 17 points per game this year. And 15 the year before that, 14 the 2 years before that. Like, I believe in Malik Monk, just overall offensive skill set and ability to drive some offense, especially for a team that would put him in the role he would be here.
This is definitely my target. If I am Orlando, the more we've talked through it. If the Kings came back and said, we will only do this if you give us De Silva instead of Jet Howard, would you still do this deal?
Do I take away the pick?
No.
So
25 and De Silva.
I'm gonna have to think on that one a little more. What if it was 16 instead of 25? The deal you have on the screen. Isaac, Howard, 16.
I'd probably do that still if I'm Orlando.
Yeah.
And I would prefer to do that and keep Tristan, I think, as well.
Correct. That would be my trade-off also. Is I think I'd rather go from 25. I'd rather give up 16 than trade out 16 for 25 than trade out Tristan for Jet, I think.
Yeah. So we'll do that. We'll say that's our move here. And then, oh, by the way, like, the thing that this does is if it's Jet Howard and Jonathan Isaac for Malik Monk, you still have the ability to potentially reduce Mo Wagner's money, hopefully get off of the Cole Anthony deal somehow. And then if you still want to go sign like a Ty Jerome or somebody like that using your money, that option is on the table still.
Or a wing, off the bench as well. Like, I mean, I know they have guys, but it also, like, again, like, I like Goga. And so, like, now I feel like this puts Goga more into the rotation as well with Jonathan Isaac minutes out of the way. And I'm not like trying to crap on Isaac. I do think he's a really, really good defender. Like, he's really good on that end, but I don't think losing him hurts you because you have so much depth at the big man position.
Well, yeah, and that's what it comes down to for me. It's not that Jonathan Isaac is like a non-useful player. He's actually quite useful because he's so versatile on defense. He's so valuable. The problem is that he can't offense point blank, which is something that this team desperately needs. B, they have Wendell Carter. They have Goga Batadze. I'm assuming that Mo Wagner is staying, given the fact that his brother is the team's second best player. Yeah. And they seem like super happy to play together, right? Even if it's like a slightly lessened deal because he, tore his ACL this year, I would assume that there's probably some organizational synergy there to where they're able to like work on something together that makes sense for everybody. Right.
Yep.
So you already have Carter Batadze and Mo Wagner. Paulo is playing the 4 and sometimes the 5 already, frankly. You have enough. Like, there's just not a reason for Jonathan Isaac to be on this roster anymore.
And so that's what, like, I was thinking about. I was like, okay, are people going to say we just gave up too much for Malik Monk? And my thought process was like, it's just like, not all first round picks for every team are created equal. Not every rotate. Like, they have enough bigs where it doesn't crush me to put Jonathan Isaac in the deal. They have a bunch of young players. So, okay, they have 2 first round picks. I don't necessarily feel like they need to make 2 first round picks. So I'm a little more okay giving one up. And then, like, the Jet Howard thing is like, I just don't think Jet Howard ends up being a super valuable NBA player. So, like, that's not a whole lot of a part of the equation. So I think there may be some shock value in like, oh, is Malik Monk really worth a first round pick, let alone a first round pick plus a a guy that used to be a first round pick? And it's like, maybe not, but whenever you put it in the context of the Magic and what they're having to give up here, I don't think it's crazy. So,
yeah, I don't think so either. Again, if I was Orlando, I would try to do 25 and Jet Howard.
Yep.
For Malik Monk along with the Isaac deal. But that's the name for me here for sure. Like the more we've talked through it, I love Malik Monk as an idea for Orlando. I think it just tracks with everything that they kind of need on this team.
With the caveat that Mosley has to be willing to play a guy that's not like great defensively. And again,
I think he's good enough to where they'll play him.
I would agree. I would agree with that 100%. I think he's good enough to do it as well.
Again, we do have to talk draft here before we get out of here. Any names that like really make sense for you for Orlando? I mean, I will just say, I don't like that I'm saying this. I just want to be clear. I don't enjoy saying this. There's a player that fits everything Jeff Weltman has valued as as like an evaluator at this point through his career. It's Jaeger. Like big positional size, real passing, can handle, like, I don't love the defense, but like has some defensive moments where you think he might be able to play on the wing at some point as well. I would not have Jaeger on my board if I was Orlando because I'm not a believer in the shot quite as much as other people are. But if he fell to 16, it would not, and they still have 16, I would not be stunned if they took Jaeger.
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes sense in regards to that. So I could see that happening.
People will say, oh yeah, he's redundant with Anthony Black. Hasn't stopped Orlando in the past from taking redundancies.
Well, I was going to say that was the first thing that popped into my head. I wasn't even going to say it. So, yeah, Nolan Traore is another name. You mentioned Walter Clayton Jr. earlier as another one. Like all of those guys make a lot of sense here. Probably just those one. I mean, to be honest, Sam, we've talked about this with Fears in terms of there being this dead zone for primary guys after a certain point in the top 10. Almost to this. I think this is the spot that we talked about. So, I mean, I don't think it probably is likely in what actually happens in the real world. I know both you and I are a little lower on Fears than what it seems like others are, but I suppose there's a path to Fears getting here. I assume it's not that realistic. And then if you're going wings, Neat Clifford, Coward, Liam McNeely would be the names for me. Again, I wouldn't go Essengay for them, but
I'll throw another name into the mix that I can see this front office particularly liking. Will Riley.
I knew that's where you're going.
Big positional size, ball skills, like potential to shoot it for sure. Very inconsistent as a shooter right now, but like potential to shoot it as he gets stronger. I'm coming around more on Will Riley the more I watch him. That is one that is at least interesting to me as the sun just like blasts my face as we're talking here.
I noticed it got real bright all of a sudden.
Yeah, it got aggressively bright. I opened the window when we started recording a while ago and, maybe not my best decision, Bryce. Yeah. So Will Riley, another guy, positional size, offensive skill. Cedric Howard makes a ton of sense for them to me. Again, positional size, positional length, can really shoot it. I would love it if he ended up there. Like, I think he would play there very early and be really valuable for that team very early.
And I guess that would be a reason why keeping 16 in, whatever, world of potential trades, you would want to try to keep that over 25, because I think a lot of the names we just said are gone at 25. And so then you're not getting a prospect that's quite as exciting. Now the guards are Jason Richardson and Ben Suraf, and the wings are Hugo Gonzalez and Rasheer Fleming, and
like Cam Jones would be an option to be at 25. Like, here's the other thing. Like, if you look at trading Batadze and you're not going to keep Mo Wagner, like is Ryan Kalkbrenner or somebody like on the board there, right? Is Rasheer Fleming is a big on the board there. Just kind of looking through. It's a weird spot to be in, because I do typically look at these teams with two picks as like combo picks, right? I actually do wonder if I was drafting and I was keeping both of these picks, if I was Orlando, I would really want to end up with Walter Clayton.
Sure.
Would be one guy. Because I think Walter Clayton really fits them. I love the way he shoots the ball. I love the way he plays off of 2 feet, like has this weird cadence and like tempo that I think is really hard to stay in front of. He's somebody that like the more I watch him, I'm like debating having him ranked ahead of Jeremiah Fierce, frankly. Like I just love the shooting ability. I think he is awesome at basketball the more that I watch him. And like, I would love to end up with him. Like if I'd take him at 16, if I was Orlando, like I would kind of get that, I think.
Sure. Yeah, no. I think that's the range for him for sure. I like it.
But I will say though, too, if Orlando makes both of these picks, as opposed to going and getting like a vet, using one of them to go get like a real difference maker, I think I would be a little bit disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
I would hope that they're able to go out and get like a real difference maker.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
And I think that they're capable of finding one.
I was just counting the number of people. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Yeah, I mean, all of these dudes are other. It depends on what they do with the club options, but I mean, they just have a lot of guys already. So yeah, I think I'm with you. I think, and again, that's why I would be comfortable making a move on one of those first round picks, is because I think just making one of them makes a lot of sense for Orlando.
Yeah. I mean, final note here, Caleb Houston is in like a weird spot as well. They can pick up a team option. They can try to extend him if they want to. He did hit 40% from 3 this year on 3 attempts per game. He has kind of turned into a real shooter. They played him, actually like real minutes coming down the stretch of the season. I think you and I are probably a little bit lower on him than what, some people are. But if you look at the last 20 or so games, he played, probably like, 16 minutes a night. I think they probably just pick up the team option there and see where it goes. He played 18 minutes a night the last 19 games of the year, actually. I think they probably pick up the team option and see where it goes. I probably wouldn't extend him, though.
Yeah. I mean, that number is low enough that makes sense with him. So,
yeah. Just wanted to note him. I think that's where I would go as well. I mean, look, like the other option here is Goga. Goga's going to have real value league wide. If I'm the Lakers, I'm like desperately trying to get Goga. Honestly, like that's the perfect guy for them. I don't know what they have to offer Orlando that would make sense for Orlando, but like if there's a weird 3-team construction involving Goga that would make sense for everybody, that would track to me.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Bryce, tell the people where they can find your work. Tell the people what's going on.
Yeah. At Motor City Hoops on Twitter, on Blue Sky, got the Substack, the Pistons Pulse podcast. Otherwise, right here, Game Theory podcast with the Sam Vecenie. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, rate, review, tell a friend, because if you're watching, I think that means you like listening and watching us, and share that so we can continue to grow the podcast and the YouTube channel.
We appreciate all of you guys immensely for coming to hang out, coming to rock with the show. Go hit the subscribe button. Go hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button on the podcast feed. All of these off-season previews also go up on the podcast feed as well. Go to The Athletic. Keep me employed over there. We will be back tomorrow with more off-season previews. Until next time, we'll talk soon. Bye.